Wireless LAN Professionals Podcast, episode 125.
Wireless LAN Professionals is a place to educate, inform, encourage, and entertain those involved in wireless LANs. This Wireless LAN Professionals podcast is an audio manifestation of these goals. Our host is a wireless LAN veteran, consultant, designer, and teacher, Keith Parsons. And now, the podcast for wireless LAN professionals by wireless LAN professionals.
Welcome. This episode of Wireless LAN Professionals podcast has VP. I can't even pronounce your last name. Can you tell us how to say it?
Yeah.
Ketonen?
Ketonen, yeah, that's right.
I was even close on that one. Veli-Pekka or VP. Welcome, sir.
Well, thank you so much. My pleasure.
We had you speak in Lisbon at the WLPC conference there. And what was your topic?
Well, I talked about some new certifications that the Wi-Fi Alliance is coming, publishing soon. And then I talked about new standards, or really not new standards, but some standards that are being used in those new certifications, like .11 KVR, AI, and U.
Well, it sounds like alphabet soup, but not everyone understands how those work. Can we use this time together to have you use your brilliant mind and how you understand all things 802.11 and share with us the whole KVRU AI, what do they add, and how are we going to use them in our wireless LANs? So that's a kind of a big open-ended question, but we'll let you get started.
So I will talk about from the standards perspective, and then we can kind of as well discuss how Wi-Fi Alliance is tying this all together. So KV and R kind of are often mentioned together, but of course they are different standards. And
you can tell by their actual names, they've been around a long time. I mean, K is obviously even before N, and VR way before AC.
Yeah, right. That's exactly. So .11K is radio resource management, and I believe it was published something like 2008 or something. So it's kind of interesting that it takes so long time for these to come through and then hit the products, in a major way. But anyway, so K is radio resource management. So it provides measurement capabilities. So a number of them basically. Probably the most important ones are neighbor reports and beacon reports. And those can be used to, gather information from the network and help basically clients and APs, operate more efficiently.
So if you turned on K on an access point, how does it change its transmission traffic? What does it change if you had it off or on?
Okay, so if you have a K on, so the mostly used ones are neighbor reports and beacon reports, and neighbor report basically allows clients asking from AP what other APs are there around this AP and which channels they are using. So a client, is able to gather this information and then scan only those channels. So not scan other channels, unused channels, and waste time on those, but scan only the channels which are used. So it helps with the roaming.
So what you're saying is a client has to make the request to say, I would like the neighbor report. The AP is not pushing it down.
Correct. That's right. So so there are some other means to provide that information, but K itself and these neighbor reports operate, based on request.
And the beacon report?
Beacon report is slightly different. So it provides information from client's perspective. So another client can ask information from the AP measured by other clients. So what information, what beacons, what signal levels the other clients are receiving in that area. So kind of similar measurements, but these are from client's point of view.
So if a client supports K, it will do the request. How does it know whether or not it's supposed to send its beacon report up to the AP to share with others?
That's basically a request based. So it will the client can request this information from AP. AP will then request that information from other clients, and that's basically how it works.
So this has been around a while. I mean, obviously since like before 2008. I mean, we've had 8 years of K. How well is it implemented in both the client stacks and the APs?
Well, I think there is a relatively wide support nowadays for this. So it's not, I think it's not always on by default, but in the AP side, it's pretty much supported always. Of course, it doesn't mean that all the features under K are supported, but usually at least neighbor reports are supported. Client side, relatively good support as well, but then there are some interesting ones, like for example, Mac OS doesn't support, and so that's kind of interesting. And then in the Android side, it varies more, but I think there is a relatively good support for K.
Okay, let's take them in order then. How about R?
Okay, so R is about the roaming, as the R says. So that's fast roaming, fast transitions, and obviously helps clients to transition between the APs faster, below, target being less than 50 milliseconds. I think there's a kind of good support for this, but then there are some difficulties. Basically, if you turn on R, some clients might not like that, and that may kind of actually make some clients perform worse. So when you are using R, you need to be a little bit careful when you turn it on. But if you have it working and you use that, you will get very fast roaming between the APs.
So it's not the decision time, or it's the post decision. So the decision time would be tied to K. You do a neighbor report, make a better, shorter decision, choose the right channels, and then R is just the process of doing the actual leaving one and joining another.
Exactly. So K helps clients make better decisions. V, on the other hand, we will come to that in a moment, but it will help as well clients to make the right decisions, or helps network to help clients make the right decisions. And then R is executing really the transition between the APs more quickly.
Okay, so let's move on to V. What's V do?
V is wireless network management then. So like the K, it has a lot of individual features, capabilities, but the most used and most well-known is the BSS transition management. And that helps clients and network kind of together figure out what is the best AP to use. And there are a number of different ways. There can be a client asking that, hey, can you tell me which AP I should be using? There may be AP, suggesting that seems like you are not in the right AP. Why don't you roam over there?
That sounds more like a request. So it's not a command; it's a request.
Yes, there is one kind of way. It's basically a request. Yes. So, but there is a feature called disassociation imminent, and AP can try to use that to force a client roam. So even with that, it's still client's decision whether it will roam, but that's kind of last warning from the AP that now you better move elsewhere. So it is a recommendation, but it's kind of the way the AP and wireless vendors can use to offer better roaming capabilities and I think differentiate as well between each other. So who can best use these new standards to allow networks to perform better.
So how is this implemented in the real world? You said sometimes R might mess some things up. By turning on V, is it going to get us in trouble at all?
No, V should be pretty good, pretty safe to use. But like said, this BSS transition management is the most used feature under V. But then there are a number of other features which are kind of getting there gradually. So we'll see how all those other features will then work. But V and BSS transition management is pretty safe to use.
Okay, how about U?
U is more for the interworking between cellular networks and Wi-Fi. So that will help the network and the client to make decisions which network is best at certain point of time. Basically, there are capabilities that you provide kind of information how the other alternative connection might work, and then help to transition between the networks. So that's
so that sounds more like it's on the client side. Would it solve this problem? I've had this problem in the past. You're driving along, your phone's obviously connected to cellular, you stop at a stoplight, there's a McDonald's next door, happens to be broadcasting a SSID, and my client decides to, for the next 20 seconds, get on the McDonald's SSID instead of cellular. Is that something you would help with?
Yes, and of course then there is the challenge if the phone tries to go to this, during that 20 seconds, tries to go to this hotspot, then usually the authentication takes quite some time. And this is really where AI will come and help quite a bit, actually.
Well, that's a perfect transition then. What's AI?
AI is basically fast way to set up a new link, but it includes a number of very exciting features. In my opinion, I like this standard a lot, and it was just finalized end of last year, and there are a number of key areas where it will help. So it will help with the network and BSS discovery. It will speed up authentication and association significantly. It will speed up IP setup significantly, and on top of all this, it will reduce management traffic, and it's really exciting.
Sounds like the holy grail. It fixes everything. You gave some stats when you gave your presentation about the kind of differences between before and after AI is implemented. Do you have any of those on the top of your mind? How long things used to take versus what they will take?
Yes. As an example, often authenticating in a PC Wi-Fi network, 2.4, a lot of users, it can take a number of seconds, 5 to 10 seconds, and even more to proceed through the full authentication. And AI promises to shorten this dramatically to something like 100 millisecond range. And the key idea with AI is that you once do your full authentication, and then the network will remember your authentication, and you can re-establish the whole link, including IP address, with 4 messages only. And this takes something like 100 milliseconds. We'll see how fast it will be in practice, but the gain should be significant. And,
that's really impressive. If I could get 100 millisecond roam times, I'd be happy, let alone the full authentication stack and getting an IP address.
Yeah, exactly. So even 100 millisecond roaming times using this AI would be already kind of cool roaming.
That's a huge improvement just to roaming, let alone all the rest of the pieces.
Yep, that's right.
So you said they came up with this last year. It was ratified. Any news from any vendor their implementation schedules?
I am not yet aware. So Wi-Fi Alliance is pushing through some new certifications, especially the one Wi-Fi optimized connectivity, which includes features from AI, and I'm very much looking forward to see which vendors go first there and have that capability available.
Those are all really impressive pieces. What's next coming down the pike from this standpoint? I mean, AI. I mean, we were talking about AX is down the road, but what's in between?
In between AX and AI, I don't have a really good answer what's in between, but I think what is really exciting is the combination of AI and AX. And AX will provide significant improvement to the quality aspects and capacity improvements. And AI will kind of speed up the initial link setup significantly, and as well will increase capacity of a network significantly by further reducing the management traffic. So they work very nicely together. So I'm very excited about this combination. So how will this combination work? It should make Wi-Fi perform very well.
I would be very impressed if the Wi-Fi Alliance came down with AX must include AI as part of their test suite. I mean, if we're going to go through the hassle of moving on to AX, why not force everyone to pick up the AI features along the way to speed everything up?
Absolutely, yeah. There's a lot of there are a lot of features in AI beyond the authentication, and I like it a lot.
So just to recap, K is radio resource management, not the standard RM, but things like neighbor reports and beacon reports. Roaming is R with fast roaming, trying to shoot for under 50 millisecond time. U is the internetworking with cellular and the little handoffs, making better decisions. V again is also helping on decisions, specifically BSS transition and lowering management. And then the big one that you're talking about is AI, allowing for much. I mean, I can't even believe the numbers. The faster setup, even all the way through the rest of the authentication stack and IP addresses. That's a bunch of pieces that will make our Wi-Fi a lot better.
Absolutely, I agree.
So from 7Signal standpoint, when you have a client and they're running their analysis, your system's watching, seeing things, is one of your recommendations to implement any one of these or all of them?
Well, K and V are always good to have on. R, you need to be more careful with. AI, once it becomes available, definitely we think it's a good idea to implement that.
Do you test to see if these are on or off in the air? I mean, is that one of the tests your software can do?
That's something we are looking at. We don't yet have a specific test for V and K, for example, observing the measurement reports, for example, there. But that's an interesting opportunity to add. And we have kind of sensor-based product, and we have a agent-based product, and we are coming up with something really exciting for the agent-based product, Mobileye, and to observe how the roaming works and how good decisions the clients are doing to select the best APs, and how good job the network is doing to guide the clients to make the right decisions with the help of these new standards.
Oh, is this a formal announcement, or are you just telling us what you're working on?
I'm telling you what we are working on. It will be out. I don't have a date yet, but it is very exciting.
But it's in beta already. You're testing this client view of the world. I think it's fantastic, because the clients are the thing we fight all the time. And to see the world from the client's point of view and why it made its decisions would be quite helpful in tuning our network.
Yes, I agree.
Well, that's great. Anything else you want to share with us, things that 7Signal are doing, or the state of the Wi-Fi Alliance? I'm assuming you're the representative on the Wi-Fi Alliance from 7Signal?
Well, I'm not an official member of Wi-Fi Alliance, but we are looking into that, and we might join officially as well. We are working with Wi-Fi Alliance, like the presentation in WLPC EU, and so we want to promote information that helps organizations to make the Wi-Fi better, and that's been as well my focus always when I've been presenting. I'm talking about Wi-Fi performance, different aspects, different times, but it's pretty much always Wi-Fi performance, and that's what we do. So we help our customers to make their Wi-Fi perform better and keep it working optimally while they roll out new applications, features, software releases, expand the capacity, bringing new kind of devices and so on.
That is a very worthwhile endeavor. We'd like to get Wi-Fi as efficient as possible. Well, how can anyone track either you down personally or your company? Websites, blogs, whatever?
Yes, so you can find us at 7signal.com.
And that's the number 7 signal.
Yes, exactly. So it's a 7-number signal.com. We have a blog. We publish there some interesting topics. As well, you can download materials what I have been presenting in different conferences from go.7signal.com/WLPC. Those presentations are about Wi-Fi performance, and they might provide some interesting insights and information.
Well, thank you, VP, for your time today. I appreciate your insight and your helping share a little education on the whole KVRU AI issues. And hope, when AI is live, we'll probably get back together and get some more details on how AI is actually being implemented in the real world. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Keith. It was nice to talk with you.
Wi-Fi question of the day with Lee Badman.
Well, Lee, welcome back to the show. How are you, sir?
Good, Matthew. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. So what Wi-Fi Q do you have for us today?
Well, we're taking this one in a non-technical direction, and I asked about where people feel their work-life balance is, and if it lives up to their satisfaction, or just how they're feeling about things in that regard. And really, really interesting. I mean, this is just one of those questions that's going to elicit how people, individual motivation and work ethic and how they feel about their jobs.
And how they felt when they read the question.
Yeah, and I think there's actually some generational overtones to this too. I know for some of us that are maybe a bit older.
Seasoned.
We have the traditional mindset that, okay, I left work, therefore I left work behind. I'm just getting on with my day or getting on with my evening. And a lot of people, I think, that grew up with technology just see that the workday really never ends, nor does...
Harder to turn it off.
Exactly. Nor is there really a hard separation between work and home. You have no problem taking a call at work because you're, from home, because you're taking calls at home from work. And it's definitely a mixed bag, but it's always refreshing to see people that can say, absolutely, I make that line in the sand, and when I'm not at work, my family gets my full attention, and God bless them. I don't think there's many of us that can actually draw that much of a line and stand on one side of it and not face consequences. But like I say, really just interesting mix, and the very fortunate few, actually articulate thoughts like, I enjoy my job so much, it's not even like work. That's great for the people that can achieve that level.
It would be interesting to find out just where they measure their life satisfaction. Even if the balance isn't quite 100% perfect, are they satisfied overall with their life and work? Did you get any kind of feedback on that?
Yeah, kind of a mixed bag too. I mean, you can get the sense the more you talk to individual people, whether they're really happy at home or they're going to work to escape it, or vice versa. And, some of that comes out between the lines. But, like I say, generally the lucky people, and thankfully I know a few of them, and even count myself in this camp, good home life, good work life. And
so overall, we have a happy wireless LAN professionals community.
There you go.
10 Talks.
My name is Consuelo Ortiz. This is my second time in a WLAN Pros conference. As Keith mentioned, I work for Wi-Fi Alliance, developing programs that improve performance of managed Wi-Fi networks. So it's an honor and a pleasure to be here presenting to you guys, and thank you to Keith for making it happen in beautiful Lisbon. My presentation today, I'm going to cover a little bit about what is Wi-Fi Alliance, what we do, and then I'll follow with a touch on the technologies that we have recently released for managed Wi-Fi networks. And Veli-Pekka, who follows my presentation, there he is, he will do a deeper dive in the underlying technologies that are part of those Wi-Fi Alliance certifications. And I will close the presentation talking a little bit about next generation and what's coming next. So, although in my career I did hold several engineering positions in semiconductors and IT industry, I changed to the dark side, marketing. So bear with me for a second, because some of my slides will have that marketing look that you guys hate or love to hate. But anyway, so what is Wi-Fi Alliance? So Wi-Fi Alliance is an organization that was formed many years ago in order to increase adoption of Wi-Fi technologies by guaranteeing interoperation or interoperability of devices from different brands and even different generations. So we have been very successful in doing that. But I think that we have been so successful. And the vision is to connect everyone to everything. And yes, Wi-Fi Alliance is responsible for making the industry growth. That is our main goal. But you guys are the ones that actually make it happen. You're the ones that do deploy Wi-Fi in the real world. And one of the things that we're working to do is work closely with you guys and find ways to better communicate and perhaps develop more technical material that is better suited for this community instead of our sometimes very elevated marketing presentations. So we've been in conversations with KISS, with the Wireless Association, with the WLPC to find ways to increase the communication channels and make sure that we hear the gaps that you guys see so that we can develop a better Wi-Fi technologies roadmap. Wi-Fi Alliance is the world network of companies that bring you Wi-Fi. We have over 800 members that work in what I call a co-opetitive environment, meaning we collaborate, but they're fierce competitors in the market. So we are a little bit strict in the way we do things because we are in that co-opetitive environment. But all of our members drive to bring the future of Wi-Fi and to develop new certifications that continue the Wi-Fi evolution. One of the things that I wanted to do is explain a little bit how we develop our certifications. And I know that usually we come out with wonderful names like Passpoint, Vantage, Miracast, Halo, and nobody knows what that means or what decodes into what IEEE standard. So we're trying to be better at that and be more open about the underlying technologies. But basically, in Wi-Fi Alliance, we do borrow from other standard organizations. IEEE is a very good example, or other associations, but we also develop our own technologies. And one good example, I don't know if you guys are aware of Wi-Fi Aware, which was recently adopted in the Android platform. It's a technology that allows to create a network between Wi-Fi devices without the need for infrastructure. So that's an example, a unique technology. But most of the time, we do base our developments on existing technologies, particularly from IEEE. So because it is, we do use IEEE as a base foundational base for a lot of our technologies, I thought I would explain a little bit how we work with them and the differences between the two organizations. So IEEE is a professional organization, and Wi-Fi Alliance is a trade organization. So our missions are slightly different. For IEEE, they want to develop technologies, enhance engineering disciplines. And in Wi-Fi Alliance, we want to increase the market footprint, make technologies successful, remove barriers to adoption. Very different philosophies. Yet, we work together and we borrow from each other, or we borrow from them. The other big difference is in IEEE is memberships are individual, so one vote per person. In Wi-Fi Alliance, there are corporation, one vote for company. And even if a company has different affiliates, it's still one vote per company. It doesn't matter how many affiliates they have. So let's say IEEE comes out with a wonderful technology and our member companies decide, yeah, that it makes sense. That's good to take to market. So they start looking at that particular specification and decide what are the key features that must be implemented and tested. And we develop a specification to implement and test that set of features. In some cases, like with most recently Agile Multiband, Wi-Fi Agile Multiband, we determined that some extra things were needed. So we developed either additional information elements or more ways to communicate or use certain aspects of IEEE defined features in different ways. So it has a Wi-Fi Alliance flavor. So the combination of that, the overlap with the IEEE spec and the elements that were selected, in addition to the Wi-Fi Alliance developed technologies, is what conforms a Wi-Fi Alliance certification. So we know that a lot of the growth in Wi-Fi has come from managed networks. And we see an increased number, and I used sometimes the word operators to describe them. But operators mean anyone that has a managed Wi-Fi network. It could be a hotel, a retail, education, enterprise, and now home environment. But the users have grown to expect wide availability of Wi-Fi, and they're ready to connect and stream and chat anywhere they are. And we have had tremendous success, but we have also created a lot of demand. So one of the things that we know, as you were stating, wireless is about maintaining the user expectations. It's about experience. And we need to improve the way we deploy and create these technologies to ensure that we work better in a more congested environment. I mean, wireless is a scarce resource, and we have many people using it. So in Wi-Fi Alliance, we decided that we needed to start raising the bar and create a type of certification to enable users and, more importantly, administrators, managers of Wi-Fi networks to easily identify those products that are better qualified or that have met additional requirements that will make them better qualified to work in managed networks. And so I don't know, last year we announced something that is called Wi-Fi Certified Vantage. Why Vantage? No idea. Is one of those names. But Wi-Fi Vantage is a different type of certification. It's not a single technology. It bundles technologies. And for example, last year release, it included technologies for high performance and to secure a light touch authentication. And those technologies existed already in the market. So we're talking about 11AC and Passpoint. And more recently, in September, early September, we announced availability of a next generation of Vantage devices. It's going to be Vantage Release 2. They will be available sometime early next year. We haven't decided exactly on the date, but keep an eye for them. And they have two new technologies. One, to enable a better use of spectrum, give the network managers more capabilities to manage the network. And the other one is more about improved roaming, faster transitions, faster connections, as well as minimizing the number of management frames. So, and these two technologies are Wi-Fi certified Agile Multiband, and that was launched and made available on September 7th. And the other one is Wi-Fi certified optimized connectivity that it will be available later this year, sometime in December. So I'm going to dive a little bit more into those technologies in a minute, but I just want to say that basically the idea with Vantage is what we want to create sort of an evolutionary roadmap, identifying the latest technologies that should be in desirable devices that you want to have in managed networks. So we started with release 1, we have release 2, and we have a group that is the dedicated group of what we call operators, quotes. And they define the roadmap of Wi-Fi features that I needed. So it's what we call a segment market group, and they identify features needed in the roadmap. They do that by looking at what are the gaps, where do we have issues, what are the problems that we need to solve, and then we start finding out what are the technologies that we need to match in order to close those gaps and continue in a upward growth. So the three pillars for Vantage are mobility, manageability, and performance. So typically mobility is talking about the faster transition, faster roaming. Manageability is provide network administrators better ways to steer clients, for example, and eliminate the sticky client behavior as a good example. And in performance is typically given by R5s, what is the latest PHY. So right now it's AC, and in the future, and we start seeing products now, is AX that's coming. So the first of the new technologies that I mentioned before is Wi-Fi Agile Multiband. And that leverages several IEEE technologies, KVR for the most part. And we have a little bit of you. So the idea with that is we want to provide some sort of dynamic monitoring so that the network can provide some intelligent steering to guide the client to either a different AP or a different band, because you need to balance the load, because that client's SSI level is too bad and performance is bad that you just want to kick it out of that AP and force it to move to a different place. And it also includes fast transitions. And fast transition is 802.11k and it's all about expediting that transition in between APs within the same network. So I have included this slide, which I know is very small print, but don't worry, because PP is going to tell you much more about that. And it basically is kind of matching that alphabet soup of IEEE standards that are used as part of Vantage. And at the bottom, I have a list of the Wi-Fi technologies that were added and incorporated to enhance and extend the value of the features that we have from IEEE's 802.11 standards. So again, it's KVR, K for radio resource management, V for wireless network management. The first one is the monitoring side. The second one is the intelligent steering. Fast transitions that enables clients to authenticate faster if they're using WPA2, either personal or enterprise. And 802.11u is just using ANQP to transfer some of the messages that are in K or V. In addition to a list of Wi-Fi Alliance developed technologies. For example, there's a new information element. There are new things that were added in order to expand the capabilities of Wi-Fi Agile Multiband. So the next one is Wi-Fi optimized connectivity. Wi-Fi optimized connectivity is about faster connection. So we know that Wi-Fi has reached greater speeds, but still trying to connect to a Wi-Fi network could take 2 to 5 seconds. So that's a really bad experience for users. So one of the things that the group decided it was that we needed to leverage technologies in 802.11i, that is FILS, First Initial Link Setup. So what that IEEE group set up to do is to reduce that initial connection setup time that I said could take between 2 to 5 seconds to bring it down to 100 milliseconds. Yeah, that's the theoretical number. But even if we bring it down to half a second, it will be a great improvement. But the goal that they set when writing the spec was to bring it down to 100 milliseconds. So I think that different implementations would achieve different numbers, depending also in the environment that they are. But it's a pretty good standard that brings radical change. The other thing that they do, in order to do this, they do kind of an optimized discovery. So there's a lot of information that is piggyback on beacons. There's a huge reduction on the number of management frames that you need, which also allows frees a spectrum for real work instead of just connecting or trying to. They're also optimized authentication using FILS authentication. This last one is kind of, you're going to say, oh, well, what do you do with fast transition? It's kind of the same. It is, and they do overlap to a certain extent, but remember that fast transitions allow transition between APs within the same network. And with 802.11ai, you can do it between networks or between wireless and cellular or vice versa. So that's probably the main difference between two. But, so it's just talking about the elements that are inside Wi-Fi optimized connectivity. I mentioned a lot of them before, the network discovery, channel scan prioritization. There's a lot of new measurements or new metrics that are taken in order to enable clients to make better decisions. So if you imagine as you walk into a Wi-Fi network, the first thing that you want to do is discover that network. And with FILS, you could have a faster discovery, more rapid. And then you have to decide if you are moving, when and where to roam next. So optimized connectivity leverages MBO, the Agile Multiband that I mentioned before. It then would use network information about load balancing or in trying to steer the clients to the preferred AP or that the network believes is the preferred AP or channel. But at the same time, the client is also taking their own metrics, and with that information, the client-centric and the network-centric that comes from Agile Multiband, the client should be able to make better decisions as to when and where to roam, so that it would have a better quality of experience of service as they're moving around. So after you move and you transfer, okay, so you have that, but you also have to provide certain level of quality, and as you continue to roam, I mean, the clients are continuously monitoring and either steering or transitioning in between devices using either FTE or Fields authentication. This is a recap of the things that I mentioned today. So we're working, trying to raise the bar of devices that are in Wi-Fi, managed Wi-Fi networks, and we have identified a new certification or a new way to recognize those devices, and that is called Vantage. We recently announced Wi-Fi Agile Multiband certification, which is the one that provides the intelligent steering and dynamic monitoring and fast transitions, so that your voice over IP applications will continue to work as your clients are moving across the same network. And then we have Wi-Fi optimized connectivity that is coming out later in the year that will provide that Fields first initial link setup, that quick connectivity to the network, a different type of authentication that would enable you to also very quickly transition between networks. And in addition to that, we're looking into generational Wi-Fi and things that are continuously changing. So what the next big change for Wi-Fi is going to be AX. You've seen that silicon is already available. The certification would be available later next year. And we continue to work based on what we hear from the market, trying to close gaps. We, for example, I included there a Y-Gig, which provides really fast connection, point-to-point connection, kind of a cable replacement in a way. We also have sub 1 gig technologies for the smart cities or maybe long range applications. And Wi-Fi Alliance, continues to innovate based on the gaps that we identify in the market, but we also try to carry the voice of the Wi-Fi community. So we work closely with regulators trying to address topics of interest and trying to make sure that we have fair use of a spectrum. We all are always looking at new FIs, new technologies to continue to improve and augment our roadmap. And we listen to the market. So one of the things that brought me here is that we want to ensure that the Wi-Fi technologies continue to evolve with and taking into account the gaps that you see in the market. So one of the reasons for me being here is trying to understand what are the gaps that you see and how we can close those gaps. So let's continue the conversation. You know where to find me. I'm Consuelo Ortiz, and I'm very happy to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Wireless LAN Professionals Podcast, the podcast for wireless LAN professionals by wireless LAN professionals. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Wireless LAN Pros for all the latest news and updates, and also connect directly with Keith on Twitter at Keith R. Parsons. Head over to www.wlanpros.com for this episode's show notes, as well as the latest in all things Wi-Fi.